When Donald J. Trump first announced that he intended on running for president, the world was shocked. It was seen as more of a joke, but now Donald Trump is the sole presidential candidate for the Republican Party. Like all candidates, he has to have his economic platform, which is what I will be talking about today. Donald Trump's main points are that he wants tax relief for the middle class, he wants a simpler tax code, he wants to end corporate inversions, increase jobs, and make America globally competitive. And how does he plan on doing that exactly? First off, Donald Trump is completely reinventing the tax system of the United States. Now, if you are a single person who earns less than $25,000 a year, or you file jointly and together make less than $50,000 per year, you no longer have to pay an income tax. This is because of the way he splits up his bracket now, which is good for some, but harmful overall. Instead of 7 tax brackets, there will now be 4. The lowest bracket would be the 0% bracket, and those are the people who pay no income tax. That is followed by the 10%, 20%, and 25% bracket. The 25% bracket is filled with anyone who earns an income of $150,000 or more. Trump chose these brackets because they eliminate the marriage penalty, the alternative minimum tax, and they create the lowest taxes since before World War II. The problem is that the upper 1% who can really afford to pay the taxes are benefiting the most from this new system, costing the United States millions of dollars. What does this mean for America? Well, it means that the United States piggy bank is running very dry. Less money from taxes means less money to go towards schools or elderly living. Programs such as Medicare and Medicaid that help so many people will possibly fall out of existence because the government can no longer support them. Under Donald Trump's plan, it's not just the people who won't be paying money anymore. He's also giving a break to corporations. Now, corporations will only have to pay a maximum of a 15% income tax. The goal here is to try to prevent corporate inversions. With a 15% income tax, America's taxes are the most desirable in the world. Companies will have no reason to leave. And while this is true that would work, less money will still be going to the government, so America will not be better off. There are 3 steps that Donald Trump intends to take in order to pay for his new tax brackets. First, Donald Trump plans on eliminating tax loopholes used by the super rich. This would help ensure that the 1% are paying closer to their tax bracket, even if that amount is less than before. Donald Trump also intends to have a 10% one-time repatriation of all funds held by corporations overseas. This will mean that they have one chance to get all their money back at a discounted rate. After that, what's done is done. The third is Donald Trump intends on eliminating deductibles from business expenses. This means that corporations would have to pay closer to that 15% tax bracket that they are now placed in. But again, this would not ensure that the government has enough money. According to the Tax Policy Center and Tax Foundation, even with Donald Trump's attempts at correcting this, the debt will increase by $11 trillion by 2026, and it'll increase by 80% of the GDP by 2036 due to his new tax plan. Donald Trump also says down with Obamacare. He feels that it increases premiums, decreases job satisfaction among doctors, and it has a much too expensive website. President Obama did spend $2 million on the website, and Trump feels he could have gotten the same website for $2. Now, Obamacare does help many families and many people with its benefits. It's true that it may be an expensive program, but simply taking it away is not the answer, though it is a very expensive plan. Donald Trump is also turning his attention to the U.S. economic growth rate. He wants the growth rate to increase to 6% from 3%. This 6% happens to be just like China. China has a developing economy. They're still working out some kinks and getting there. The United States is a fully developed economy. If the growth rate were any higher, our economy would not be able to sustain it and we would suffer severely. Speaking of China, Trump plans on doing something to China that has angered people for centuries. He plans on putting a 35% tariff on Chinese goods. Some of the top 10 exports for China include yarn knit sweaters and shoes. If Donald Trump were to place a tariff on Chinese goods, that would halt the United States' economic growth rate rather than increasing it as he had previously intended. The tariff also violates many trade agreements between the United States, China, and other nations. Violating these agreements sends them down the drain and could result in sanctions being placed on the United States, as well as war and economic turmoil. In the words of former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney, if Donald Trump's plans were ever implemented, the country would sink into a prolonged recession. Those words of wisdom go not only for the tariff, or not only for the tax brackets, but every other economic policy that Donald Trump has. Finally, the wall. Donald Trump intends on building a wall on the border between the United States and Mexico. This wall is designed to keep immigrants out. He feels that there are too many Mexicans in the United States that are stealing jobs from U.S. workers. Building a wall is no easy feat. It will cost millions of dollars to the United States government, money that they're not even willing to put towards roads. So, on Donald Trump's website, he clearly states how he intends to pay for it without actually paying for it. It's the Mexican government that will be paying for this wall. Donald Trump will cease all money being sent from immigrants to Mexico, which is the country's primary income at this time. When the Mexican government protests, that is when Trump will say, okay, we will keep sending you money so long as you pay for this wall. Even if, somehow, the Mexican government managed to pay for this wall, the economic consequences on the United States would be tremendous. When Donald Trump begins deporting Mexican immigrants as he intends to, they will be stuck on the other side of the wall in miserable conditions that they tried to escape from. Ignoring the moral conundrum at hand, this means that the United States is losing 6.4% of its workforce due to the undocumented immigrants that will be sent home. That means that the United States is losing 1 in every 30 workers. That will cause unemployment to rise and hurt the economy. Furthermore, GDP growth will decrease by $1.6 trillion. That's more than enough to send the United States on the road to recession.